Breaking news from Salt Lake City tonight. Police went to 164 East Hill Avenue. Reports show that someone called about a possible break-in and murder around 8:47 p.m. on Thursday evening. It started like any normal quiet evening in Salt Lake City. You could hear cars in the distance and see street lights shining on shiny metal. But at exactly 8:47 p.m., everything changed. Someone called 911 from an address that every car lover in America knew about. Kindig-It Design. The person on the phone sounded nervous and scared. "Yeah, it's Kindig-It. We've got someone in the shop. I don't know who." In just a few minutes, police cars drove through the area. Sirens were making noise down the empty streets. Neighbors looked out their windows as red and blue flashing lights lit up the famous garage's shiny walls. To most people, Kindig-It was a special place where Dave Kindig and his team turned old, forgotten cars into million-dollar dream cars. But that night, something inside had gone very wrong. Officers thought it would be a break-in, maybe someone trying to steal things. Instead, they walked into something that seemed planned out, way too quiet and way too still. The big garage doors were halfway open. The air smelled like burnt rubber and welding smoke. One light was flickering over a car that was half covered. Somewhere deeper inside the building, a door made a creaking sound. When police started looking around the place, one officer said, "Something's weird. It looks like they were doing something and just walked away." News spread fast around the neighborhood. Police at Kindig-It. Was it a robbery, a break-in, or something even worse? Within an hour, Dave Kindig himself showed up. He looked really upset, holding his keys, with confusion all over his face. "I don't know who called," he told the officers. "But something's not right. The alarm shouldn't have gone off." As officers started searching, they figured out this wasn't about stolen tools or damaged cars. It wasn't even clear if anyone had actually broken in. What they would find, hidden behind a locked door in the back of the building, would start rumors that would shake up the custom car world and leave even Dave Kindig without words. Because that night wasn't about a theft or an accident. It was about something or someone that had been hidden where everyone could see it all along. To understand how important that night was, you first need to know about the man at the middle of it all. Dave Kindig isn't just another car builder. He's an artist who turned metal into beautiful sculptures. From small beginnings in his garage to becoming famous around the world through Bitchin Rides, Dave built a business based on being perfect, being creative, and having a strong drive to make everything flawless. Every curve, every weld, every stitch, nothing leaves his shop unless it's perfect. Kindig-It Design became a symbol of great work. Fans saw it as the best of the best, a super clean building where imagination met powerful engines. But what the cameras didn't always show were the problems that came with being successful. There were deadlines to meet, secrets to keep, and constant pressure between what Dave wanted to create and what the company needed. As Bitchin Rides got more popular, rumors started spreading. People whispered about unfinished projects hidden away behind locked doors, famous clients whose cars never showed up on the show, and a few workers who quietly left the company without anyone explaining why. For years, the gossip stayed harmless. It was just the kind of shop talk that happens around every successful business. But in the months before the police call, that tension had started to show up more. One person who worked there described the mood as different. There were late nights with lights on long after the crew went home. There were restricted areas marked authorized access only. When people asked about it, Dave would just smile and say, "We're working on something special." Kindig's desire to create new things had always been almost like an obsession, but this time it felt like he was keeping something. And when the alarm went off that night, it wasn't just a mistake. It was the moment those whispers turned into something real. Whatever was hidden inside Kindig-It that evening wasn't part of any car project the public had seen before. And soon, police would learn that the real story of that call wasn't about a break-in. It was about what someone wanted kept locked away. Records from the police station show the call came in at 8:47 p.m. A calm but nervous man's voice told them the location. Kindig-It Design, 164 East Hill Avenue. Motion alarm went off. There's movement in the restoration bay. Officers thought it was a false alarm, the kind that happens when a cat walks too close to a motion sensor. But the voice on the phone wasn't from a security company. It was a staff member. "I heard something like tools hitting the floor," he said, breathing hard. "It's coming from the back. The lights are off back there." Within minutes, 2 police cars arrived. The front door was unlocked. The alarm was still flashing red. Inside, the building felt strangely cold. The air smelled like oil, dust, and electricity. The officers called out, telling everyone they were police. No one answered. Then a quiet clattering sound came from deep inside the storage area. What they expected to find was a burglar. What they actually found was a trail. Footprints in the dust, leading toward a heavy sealed wall that wasn't shown on any building plan. One officer later wrote in his report, "No sign of forced entry. The area looks abandoned, but it's not supposed to be there." When they called on the radio for the owner, Dave Kindig was already driving there. He sounded calm, but confused. "There shouldn't be anyone there," he told them. "We don't use that section anymore." But the motion alarm had come from that exact spot. As they waited for Kindig to arrive, the officers shined flashlights over the covered shapes of half-finished cars, silent skeleton-like, forms covered with tarps. Then one light beam caught a set of tire tracks, leading under a door that was sealed shut with weld marks. "Looks like someone didn't want this opened," an officer said quietly. By the time Dave pulled up in his car, police were ready to cut the door open. And what they would find behind that wall wasn't theft, damage, or vandalism. It was something no one expected to find at all. The sealed section was more than just an old storage room. It was like a vault. Welding marks sealed the entrance, as if it had been deliberately locked up forever. When the officers broke through, a rush of old air hit them. It was heavy with dust, oil, and felt like it had been there a long time. Inside was a collection frozen in silence. Rows of classic cars covered under tarps, some you could recognize, others unlike anything seen on Bitchin Rides. There were boxes of parts, stacked blueprints, and a flickering light bulb buzzing over one car in particular. An unfinished, amazing car covered in gray sheets. When they pulled the tarp back, the officers saw a sleek, shiny shape. A car no one recognized, but it clearly had Kindig style, polished by time, untouched by light. But this wasn't a restoration project. This was something else. None of this was in the records, one officer wrote in his report. No serial numbers, no production tags, no inventory notes. It shouldn't have been here. When Dave Kindig arrived, people say he froze in place. "That's impossible," he said quietly. "That car is not supposed to be here." The officers asked him questions. What was this place? Why was it sealed? Dave waited before answering. "We used to call it the archive," he finally said. "Old concepts, unfinished builds, stuff that never made it to the show." But this particular car, sleek, black, scary looking, didn't look old. Its surface was shiny, perfect, and recent. And then one officer noticed something else. A trunk that was welded shut. The welding looked clean, but done on purpose. That's when everything changed. Because the mystery wasn't just what this car was, it was what was hidden inside it. As the dust settled, one detail caught everyone's eye in the room. The Lincoln, a 1958 Continental, was jet black and strangely perfect looking. Its body panels shined under the single light bulb overhead. But what caught the officer's attention was the trunk. Unlike the rest of the car body, it had been welded shut. The welding looked smooth and done on purpose, not the work of someone who didn't know what they were doing. It looked intentional, as if someone wanted to make sure it would never open again. Dave stood there in shock. "That car was finished years ago," he said quietly. "It was supposed to be in storage somewhere else." But when officers asked who last went near the car, his face changed. The question surprised him. The main investigator said they could do a small cut to open it. Sparks filled the air as the lock broke open. The metal made a groaning sound that echoed through the quiet garage. Inside, there was no body, nothing illegal, only sealed boxes wrapped in brown paper and string labeled confidential property of Kindig-It Engineering. Inside those boxes were blueprints, legal papers, and unsigned contracts. Each folder talked about something called Project Phoenix. Police laid the papers out across the hood of the car, looking through the notes. The writing was technical design specs, engine innovations, prototype sketches. But one phrase stood out, written by hand across the top of a page in red ink. Client suspended. Keep materials until further notice. According to later reports, the project had been ordered by a famous collector under strict secrecy rules. But halfway through, the money disappeared and the client stopped answering phone calls. Discovery Channel was said to have pulled the footage from the show after lawyers reviewed it. Now years later, the car had shown up again, buried behind walls, its secret sealed in steel. It wasn't a crime scene. It was a cover-up. And when the officers turned to Dave, he simply said, "We weren't hiding anything illegal, just something the world wasn't ready to see." But he was wrong. The discovery was only just starting because those papers in the trunk hinted at more than a lost project. They hinted at who might have hidden it there and why. The documents pulled from the Lincoln told a story the public was never supposed to hear. Project Phoenix had once been Kindig-It Design's most ambitious build. A high-concept restoration ordered by a mysterious client known only as Marlowe. The car was rumored to combine 1960s styling with modern electric technology, a hybrid design ahead of its time. According to internal notes, filming had already started for Bitchin Rides Season 4 when Discovery suddenly stopped production on the project. Client withdrawn, the notice said. But the truth was more confusing. Crew members remembered the client visiting the shop twice, the second time angry, demanding to see the unfinished build. Shortly after, all footage of the car disappeared from production files. Months later, Kindig quietly bought the frame back, saying there were unfinished contract obligations. But the car never appeared again. Fans guessed endlessly online, calling it the ghost build. A project so secret it had to be buried. Now, with police standing over the physical proof, one question was huge. Who welded it shut? And why had it been hidden behind a sealed wall? When pushed for answers, Dave admitted only this. It was supposed to be gone. Someone didn't want it gone. The police looked at the shop's security records and found no entries connected to that section of the building in over 3 years. Yet the dust on the car was thin, meaning it had been moved or cleaned recently. Something or someone had been in the archive long after it was supposedly closed. Whether it was a worker who went rogue, a business rival, or the mysterious client himself, no one could say. But what the police found next inside the hidden bay suggested the secret went far beyond a missing build. Because on the back wall under a canvas tarp was something no one, not even Dave, said they recognized. The officers uncovered a makeshift work table covered with old design sheets, prototype parts, and empty coffee cups. Whoever had been there hadn't just broken in. They'd been working. Among the mess was an envelope marked private, DK, only. Inside was a single note written in clean block letters. You built perfection. Then you buried it. For investigators, that line raised questions that no one could quite answer. For Dave, it hit harder. Like a message from someone who knew him really well. He later admitted that only a handful of people had access to that part of the shop. Senior engineers, former lead designers, and one close partner who'd left the company years earlier after an argument over who owned the rights to ideas. The police report listed the findings as unregistered materials and unauthorized storage. No arrests were made, but the tension inside Kindig-It grew thick. Crew members whispered about off-the-record projects and private jobs for rich clients. A former metal worker even told reporters there were builds nobody talked about. Experimental stuff, big money clients. We didn't ask questions. Dave released a statement days later, calm and careful. There's nothing illegal about innovation, but there's something dangerous about keeping it quiet. He promised full cooperation with authorities, and true to his word, he gave them every document they asked for. Still, something about the case felt unfinished. Because while police were taking photos of the Lincoln and making lists of the paperwork, one officer noticed something mounted on the wall beside the car. A massive hand-drawn blueprint framed in glass. When the officer lifted the tarp away, Dave froze. "This isn't supposed to be here," he whispered. The blueprint was labeled Series 1 Electric Prototype. And for the first time that night, the look on Dave Kindig's face wasn't confusion. It was fear. As officers cleared the area, their flashlight swept across something enormous. A hand-drawn concept sketch covering nearly the entire wall. Pencil lines, ink notes, precise measurements. It wasn't a random doodle. It was a full technical drawing of a car that didn't exist anywhere else. The bottom corner had a small inscription in Dave's own handwriting. Series 1 electric prototype. The room went quiet. Even the officers could sense they were looking at something revolutionary. A Kindig design unlike any seen before. Gone were the chrome curves of his signature hot rods. This was futuristic. Sculpted panels, hidden lighting, a whisper of speed instead of a roar. Underneath the design were notes about modular battery packs, adaptive chassis control, and one chilling line written in red. Do not release until market ready. When asked about it, Dave hesitated. That's something we were exploring, he finally said. An idea, a future project. But his voice cracked when a detective pointed out the date in the corner of the blueprint. 3 years old. If this was real, it meant Kindig-It had quietly been developing an electric super custom long before anyone in the industry suspected it. It was a direct challenge to the old-school culture Dave himself helped create. No roaring engines, no gas, just silence and power. For years, whispers in the custom car world suggested Kindig was planning a change. A secret leap toward the electric revolution. Now standing before that hidden wall, it wasn't rumor anymore. It was proof. One officer reportedly asked if the car existed. Dave's answer was simple. Not yet. But the look on his face said something different because some secrets, once uncovered, can't be put back behind walls. And this one, the birth of a new era, had been hiding in plain sight. By morning, word had spread that police had visited Kindig-It Design. A passerby's phone video of flashing lights hit social media before sunrise, and within hours, the internet was going crazy. Fans guessed wildly. Stolen cars, illegal parts, even government prototypes. The hashtag #KindigGarage mystery trended worldwide. Dave Kindig responded the next day with a calm, polished statement. We build art, not chaos. The truth is always less dramatic than rumors, but I let the cars speak for themselves. He thanked local police for being professional, dismissed talk of criminal activity, and refused to explain more about what the sealed area actually had inside. Discovery Channel, meanwhile, stayed silent. No comment, no acknowledgement. But quietly, Bitchin Rides was renewed for another season. Industry insiders took that as a sign that whatever happened inside the shop hadn't shaken their confidence, or perhaps that it had made people more interested in the show. Behind the scenes, things changed. The car known as Project Phoenix disappeared from all internal files. Employees were asked to sign new secrecy agreements. A few noticed design elements from the missing build showing up again in later episodes. Subtle hints that its DNA had lived on. For law enforcement, the case closed quickly. No charges, no tickets, just a final line on the report. Security breach. Property secured. But the public's interest didn't fade. If anything, the silence made it louder. Because, in the world of custom cars, mystery sells faster than horsepower. And now, every time the garage lights turned on at night, fans wondered what else might still be waiting behind those welded walls. Weeks later, long after the headlines died down, Dave was seen back at his drafting table. Alone, pencil in hand, eyes fixed on a fresh sheet of paper. No cameras, no crew, just the sound of pencil against paper. What the police found that night wasn't evidence of a crime. It was evidence of obsession, the kind of relentless drive that turns an artist into a legend. Hidden behind steel and secrecy wasn't scandal. It was innovation. Dave Kindig wasn't hiding mistakes. He was hiding the future. In an interview months later, he finally talked about the incident in a single sentence. People think I'm hiding something. I'm not. I'm just not done building yet. Those words summed up the man perfectly. Never finished, never satisfied. Always chasing the next evolution of design. Project Phoenix remained unspoken of, its files locked away, its client unnamed. but pieces of it began appearing in Kindig's later work. Sleeker lines, quieter engines, cleaner power. The whispers about an electric era didn't die, they multiplied. In the end, what police truly uncovered in that garage wasn't a secret car or a scandal. It was a moment of revelation, proof that even in the world of roaring V8 engines, change was coming. The mystery may remain unsolved, but one thing is certain. Whatever Dave Kindig is building next isn't just another custom ride. It's a revolution waiting to start. And somewhere behind the locked doors of Kindig-It Design, the future of hot rodding is already humming quietly, waiting to come alive.